Hey guys, Jimmy here and welcome back to iRacing for another video. Now I may be a little bit behind the curve due to recent PC updates, but today I'm going to drive the two new GTE cars that came to iRacing earlier this week. First of all, I'm going to be starting with the Ford GT, aka the cheetah car. Now the reason why I call it the cheetah car is because of its sort of infamous win last year at Le Mans, where it was previously a long way off the pace in practice and then suddenly it was super fast in qualifying and the race. So a little bit of, it's sad to see that sort of politics in racing, but you can also argue that that is racing, and in that case Ford played their hand very well. Now this is a car that I was most looking forward to drive because it is being compared to a prototype by numerous people on numerous occasions. So of course, as you can imagine, we are at Le Mans, because where else would you drive this thing? You might be wondering, Jimmy, are you not bored of Le Mans by now, given that you drove 7 hours of it in the VEC 24 recently? The answer is no. Le Mans is great, I love it, and of course driving it in a different class always brings a different perspective. A couple of things before we start this video though. This is my first video on the new machine, so hopefully quality is good. If it's not, I apologise, but I'll definitely be working on it. And secondly, iRacing is not the sim that I drive the most at the moment, so I might not be the fastest guy out there, but I'm hoping I'll be decent enough to give you a good first impressions of both cars. So, in the pit lane here then at Le Mans, as an HPD phases through us. This is actually one of my first times driving on this version of Le Mans as well, the iRacing version of Le Mans. I only bought it with the GTE car, so it'll be fun to compare this version with the version we ran over at VEC. But anyway, out onto the track, checking relative, make sure there's no one coming behind me. There isn't, that's good. So, Dunlop chicane for the first time, braking early as I can because everything is very cold at this point. Nice and easy over the curbs. And the first thing that I notice, of course, in any of these cars to drive it is the sound. I must say, the iRacing sounds as well, although HPD dead in front of us. Oh, Jesus Christ, that was scary. The iRacing sounds are pretty damn good. They still lack that rawness, that sort of imperfection. But it's a very good start, I must say. So through Test Rouge, and that's also the first thing that I noticed around this version of the circuit, as opposed to the VEC version we ran a lot wider in the real-life laser scan version. So going down the Mulsanne straight then, up into 6th gear, top gear, sort of waiting, just checking my mirror, make sure that HPD isn't going to come back through. You might be able to see the mirror too well here. I've turned off the virtual mirror and just got on the TV camera to the right, but I'm aware that my webcam, etc. might be covering that up a little bit. So just looking for our braking point. It's about here. Oh, locking up the brakes a little bit on the way in. Very easy to do in this car. Trying to pump them a little bit on the way down. No ABS in this thing, of course. Do have traction control, but no ABS, meaning that if I'm slamming the brakes like that, issues are going to happen. Down to the second Mulsanne chicane again, just checking the mirrors. Very different experience driving a GTE car around here, because you have to constantly check behind you because of faster traffic coming through. Of course, the P2s aren't as fast as the P1s around here, so it isn't too dangerous, but still something you want to check for. Looking for our braking point, that'll do. Using the brakes. Down to 2nd gear, on the throttle, nice. Nice and soft there. Traction control is there, of course, but you have to keep in mind that ramming the traction control, and I do mean that in a loop way, every time they come at the corner, one, uses a lot of fuel, and two, actually slows you down. You want to try and work with the traction control, have it not save you at every corner. So down to the Mulsanne corner now. Now usually you brake just as you start turning. I'm going to brake a bit earlier than that because I'm in a GT today. Yeah, definitely more speed there. Nice little bump on the exit there. The rise of the revs. Car feels good at the moment. Of course, the best place to test the handling of this car is in the last section through the Porsche curves. The first sector doesn't really pose that much of a challenge. Just a couple of chicanes really, although Test Rouge I would say is actually quite a challenging corner. Given how strict the iRacing anti-cuts here are as well, it can be quite frustrating to get a decent lap around here. So Indy, this is going to be a difficult one. I'm going to brake a bit earlier than I usually would. Down to 5th gear. Oh, nice easing away in the rear, wanting to come around there for a second. I'm driving very conservatively at the moment. I'm not quite sure what the car's going to throw up at me. Locking the brakes again. First through there. Soften the throttle out of Arnage, nice. No traffic behind us to look out for, it seems, for the Porsche curve, so we can have a good stab at going through there as quick as we can. I love the shifting on this wheel, it's such a cool sensation. Anyway, Porsche curve, so I'm going to we'll try 4th gear. Braking a bit earlier than I need to, but of course, just getting used to the car. The cornering grip of this thing It's just hanging on. It just... 5th gear and it's hanging on. Christ alive. They weren't joking when they said it drives like a prototype, were they? Holy hell. Oh, got that last one a bit wrong there. Got sideways, got the brakes a bit too heavy. We're through there. That is outstanding cornering performance for a GT car. That is something strange. Now, last couple of chicanes. Oh, big lock up on the way in. We're going to run wide. Ah, just too heavy on the brakes there. Give me that slow down iRacing. I love it. Yeah, I know. I cut the course. I'm the worst man ever. Anyway, let's try and put in a lap that isn't deemed a cut, shall we? So up through the gears there. I've had the pleasure of actually being to Le Mans. I've stood just left of where we are now, watching the cars fly by. It's very awesome indeed. I'd recommend it if you ever have the chance to go. Let's definitely go. So first chicane, looking at the brakes a little bit on the way in. I'm driving it like the Nissan. Never I'd ever say that. Nissan just has better brakes, a bit more agile, of course, it being a P1 car. This not quite the same, but that cornering performance is still ridiculous. So second gear through here. This section of the course is so much wider than the VEC version, especially Tete Rouge. Such an easy, just a little dab of the brakes and in. Not quite the best line through there, but you have to forgive me, of course. Again, iRacing not being the sim I've been driving most recently. We do have people behind us on the relative, but they're about 7 seconds behind there. Hopefully shouldn't catch us before the end of the lap. And this is the point of the lap where you just sort of check all your dials, etc., make sure everything's looking good. Look at the cool heads-up display there on the wheel. That's something that I prefer over the Ferrari. I'll say that now already because I've driven the Ferrari a tiny bit just to get the character of it down. Is that I really enjoy the sort of disconnected heads-up display. I don't like it on the wheel. I like to see it on the dash, because then you can turn off the wheel in game and not have to worry about losing that information. Although you can't do that in the Ford. There's like a really annoying thing where the wheel stays there, like in the F1 cars, so you can't not avoid the information. The company on Boost 1 still, so I assume there are various engine maps for this car, which will be fun to explore. I'll probably have a look at that after I get out the car just to confirm. Oh, I'm braking very conservatively now. The brakes are up to temperature a bit more now, so I can actually brake a bit better. I can feel the performance getting better in the brake as we go around the second lap now. I thought that was Christopher Walken connecting then. That would have been something. These cars! I take the chicanes too quickly. Oh my god, shut up. Anyway. Mulsanne corner. Yeah, there's a lot more braking performance there. Oh, little kink there. There's a bump there that isn't in... It's really cool getting to drive this laser scan Le Mans, because the bump... You don't feel that bump coming out of the Mulsanne corner in VEC. And this thing with the traction control, you heard it sort of scramble for a second and tried to make its way up through the revs again. Very cool indeed. So, coming up to Indianapolis again. I'm going to try and be a bit more aggressive this time, and this is where I usually crash when I say this sort of thing. So, going in 5th, back in, and then on the brakes again. Yeah, there's definitely a limit there on the brakes. With more laps I'd definitely find it, but feeling a bit better through there anyway. Oh, really wide, riding the brakes and all the way in there, a bit wide on the exit of Arnage. Such a tricky corner, Arnage, especially if you're driving a downforce car. Of course, there is a bit of downforce in this car. But you come from going through Indianapolis, having all this downforce, and it bleeds off as you come through that section. Then you get to Arnage, you're going super slow, and the braking performance just falls away from you. It's pretty cool and pretty frustrating at the same time. Anyway, Porsche curves again. Bit of rubber flying up there, so I really throw it in. A little bit aggressive there, I can feel the tyres scrubbing. The speed through the Porsche curves is absolutely ridiculous. What a car. That's going to be a off track, I think. No, it's not, we get away with it. Haha, screw you, iRacing. Let's try and focus on this last chicane now. Get this right so we can actually put a lap in. Brake a bit earlier than I did last lap. Something else about the VEC version is that the gap between these chicanes is a lot shorter in the real life than it is in the mod. We're coming across the line. What time is it going to be? Not too impressive, I imagine. A 3:59.1. Oof. Not too great at all. But that is the Ford GT, and I really enjoyed driving that car. Like I said, that high-speed grip is very comparable to a prototype. So I'm interested to see how the Ferrari is going to compare to this. Before we get into the Ferrari though, I wanted just to quickly just go back to a point that I mentioned a bit earlier on. There are boost settings for this. The boost setting you're on default is the fastest setting. The other settings, it says here in the notes below, are sort of designed to help you get out of the pit box without spinning your wheels, because in real life you get a penalty for that. Well, there are also engine maps as well, similar to the GT3 cars, so I like cars with engine maps because it brings another level of strategy to racing, so I'm really glad to see that the Ford has them. I also want you guys to listen to this car from the external camera, because I've seen these things in real life, and I must say, the external noise is pretty damn close. Gorgeous. Next up is the Ferrari 488 GTE. Now, in my opinion, this car was robbed of a podium last year at Le Mans. I'm not going to go into it in too much detail, but I recommend going to read up on it because it's quite interesting. The other interesting thing about this car is that it is a V8 turbo. Saying turbo and Ferrari in the same sentence doesn't sound very right outside of the F40, but I think it will make for an interesting drive, and it does make for an interesting race car. In the pit lane then, in the Ferrari, if you make our way out into the course, that glorious bog, because Le Mans gearing boys. And at the pits we come, checking the relative. We do have a car somewhat behind us. He is the fastest car on the server right now, so we'll keep an eye on him. Nice and easy into the Dunlop chicane first time around. Already, I can feel that front end bite a lot better than the Ford did. I am running both cars on, you know, as near a setup as I can get for each one. No changes to the suspension at all, just wing and gearing to make me go a bit faster in a straight line, because Le Mans. Coming up to Tete Rouge, nice and easy in the way and soft. This car seems to respond very nicely to a soft touch, it seems, at the start, whereas the Ford seems to be wanting to be manhandled a bit more. Of course, I'm only on my outlap, I've only done a couple of corners, but that is the initial impression. Something else I want to talk about that I did mention in the Ford is that I much prefer having the dash here on the dashboard as opposed to the wheel, because it means if I want to, I can turn off the wheel and sort of use my wheel because I have this in front of me now instead of having to have two, which some people find weird, and I do sometimes as well. So first Mulsanne chicane, just feeling out where the brakes are, down to second gear. Not quite that same bite there. I think I got a little bit of understeer mid-corner. I did take a couple of goes at turning it in there. Down the back straight now, and seems to be a lot more information. It feels like there's more information on this LCD than there was on the Ford one, from what I can see anyway. Just checking in my my little TV cam to the right there. It's a little bit further out of view, this one. I'd prefer it to be a bit further to the left so I can see a bit better on a single monitor, but I guess that's just how it is. Second Mulsanne chicane, just a bit heavy on the brakes there. Yeah, I've got a lot more braking performance to give. I'm still feeling it out at this point. This is not the video you're going to be watching for the fast laps around here, just the initial impression. Car feeling nice out, picks up very nicely. And I have noticed a turbo chirp a couple of times. You have to re-listen out for it. It's quite muffled in the background, but there is a turbo chirp there, which is pretty damn cool with a Ferrari, having a turbo chirp going off there. So coming down to the Mulsanne corner, we'll try brake a bit later. Definitely that braking performance there, get it in, easy. Just there you go, see that bump on the exit there, you see on the throttle, even with traction control, I'm trying to be nice and progressive out of there. Then the throttle will come on naturally as opposed to forcing it. It feels a lot better that way. But down to Indianapolis now. Now I felt in the Ford, the rear end coming into Indy was a little bit unstuck, but I felt that, I only just felt it in the steering, so I'm wondering if I'm going to feel the same in the Ferrari. I'm going to take, again, a conservative approach through here, not too much, not too hard. Biff. Ferrari does feel more planted through there, definitely. Now coming up to Arnage, just here we go through here. Give me first, please. Bit downshift protection coming in there. Car feels very, very sweet through there. Now, from what I've heard so far, the biggest difference between the Ford and the Ferrari is the high-speed cornering performance, with the Ford being superior to the Ferrari. Let's see if that's true, shall we? We'll try and go for the same sort of entry. We'll try a fourth gear and see how it goes, shall we? So here we are. Down the fourth. Aim for the inside. Rear end wants to come around a bit. This car also has a lot of cornering speed, it feels like. Up to fifth. Actually very similar through here so far. Bit of a bigger lift through there, like in a Ford. Oh, there it is, there it is, there it is, there it is. There's the rear end coming around there. That was scary. Just about managed to avoid that slide. Jeez, don't want to spin through there. I was very lucky not to hit the wall at all. Of course, this is a first impression, so that's all. We'll leave that in. It looks like the Ford being maybe the more approachable. I thought the Ferrari was at first, but it seems through the high-speed stuff, not quite as much bite at the rear there. But we're through okay, so we'll try and... Oh Jesus! Now the rear end's all warm, so we're going to try and put in a decent lap now. Try and let the rear tyres cool down a little bit. Big on the curbs there. Guy behind is now only 4 seconds behind, so he's someone to watch out for in the relative. They'll probably catch us on the way around. I'm not the fastest guy around them all at this point, if you haven't guessed. So 5th gear, we'll hold it in 5th. Lift, on the brakes hard. Oh, doing the same thing I did in the Ford there. Just understeering a bit. Nailing the throttle on the exit. Really not helping that rear tyre heat right now. But hey ho. 3rd gear through here. I'm a bit in between on the pedals right now. Not quite got that confidence I had around here in my trusty DTR LM. That's something that comes with practice. 4th gear through here. Rear end again is feeling a little bit loose in the turn in there, but we're okay. Good run through there regardless. So now down the straight, focusing now on where I'm going to be braking for the first Mulsanne chicane. This can be quite challenging for a driver when you're sitting here on the straight, especially if you're in a GT traffic. You do have to look behind you, of course, quite a bit to make sure there's no cars coming to kill you in the background. But you don't do much overtaking with GTs compared to the prototype, so forgive me for getting a little bit bored. Anyway, braking late enough on the curb there. Soft on the throttle, try not to fight the traction control too much. Same as the Ford, this traction control is there really to save you more than anything else. You got to try and work with it though. Good first chicane though, a lot better than last time. Now I'm going to try and brake a little bit later for the second Mulsanne chicane because I felt like I was a little bit tardy through here last time. I'm extremely tardy, I should say. See if I can pick out a good braking point for this. 300 to, let's try 150. Nah, I'd probably brake out 100 there. The entrance to that corner is a lot softer than it is for the first Mulsanne chicane. Still a good run through there. Being careful not to try and rest my foot on the brake, of course, because doing that I'm just going to just drag the brakes down the straight, which isn't really a decent race car strat. Seems this car uses a little bit more fuel than the Ford as well. Depending on... I didn't change the fuel load at all, so maybe there's a different standard fuel load. You can nail the throttle out of there, you just have to let the car go wide, I think. Last time I sort of gave a bit more progression, but I think you can nail the throttle as long as you release the angle of the steering quite soon. This part of the course is so fun at night. It feels so quickly because you've got the trees quite close to you on the left and on the right, or here anyway, so really hoping we see that day-night transition come to iRacing soon because it will really complete an event like this. So Indy, oh, a bit fast into there, big. Still alive, just about. We nearly died there. Rear end of this car, not quite as planted as the GT through the fast stuff. That's what I'm feeling at the moment. But I think I prefer the Ferrari right now, you know? I mean, in real life I prefer the Ford, just how it looks and how it sounds, etc. But to drive, even with this little bit of nervousness, I think I could probably be tuned out with setup, to be honest. This car is quite a handful. I like cars that are handfuls. Well, around here anyway. I expect with tracks with more downforce on, more wing, it'll be a little bit easier. Right, I'm going to try not to spin through this time. Little turbo chirp there, nice. Yeah, a little bit more conservative through there this time. And the power nice and early. That's such a satisfying corner to get right. You have to turn in quite early though, because it's slightly off camber coming out of there. Something again I didn't know until I drove this version of the circuit. So last chicane. So we want to try and get inside a 59, which I'm sure we will, because this car still is a bit quicker at the moment for me around here. To come across the line, lap time is a 3:55.3. Jesus Christ, that went a lot quicker in the Ferrari. Don't know if that confidence just wasn't there in the Ford, but this is on default setup, by the way, guys. Default setup with an amendment to gearing and to the wing for both cars. And I went a lot quicker in the Ferrari around here. Oh shit, I've just held up the guy behind. Sorry, dude. Very sorry, man. Sorry, I was doing an outro. Sorry, man. Sorry, Cedric. I'll make it up to you. Probably not. So, whilst I sort of sum up my thoughts on the Ferrari and the Ford, let's watch the Ferrari go round from the external camera, shall we? So, I obviously went quite a lot faster in the Ferrari. No setup changes, from what I can tell anyway. Literally just the wing and the gearing was changed, but I felt a lot more at home in the Ferrari. So, you know, I preferred the feeling, and that sort of then manifested itself in a faster lap time. The Ford GT has a lot of pace. There's a lot of pace in that car, but I feel like you get to it differently than you do in the Ferrari. The Ferrari seems to have just a little bit more initial turn, a little bit more low speed grip, where the Ford seems to be a bit faster at the top end through the faster speed corners. Both cars feel pretty nice. My only criticism is that in the Ford going through Indianapolis, when the rear of the car got light, I didn't get that much information through the wheel. Of course, I am using an OSW wheel, so a lot of the settings I have to put in myself, so that could be the reason for it. But in the Ferrari, I felt a little bit more information there. Again, it was more faint than I would like it to be. The information was there, but it was more prevalent than it was in the Ford anyway. Both cars are a lot of fun. I really look forward to seeing how they shake up the IMSA series and the Proto GT series, if they're going to go there. I'm not sure what the plans are for this car yet, so don't quote me on that. But if you enjoyed this video, guys, make sure to hit that like button. If you really enjoyed it, hit subscribe to be notified of future videos, and let me know what the quality of the video is like, because we are recording on new hardware today. Take care, guys. Have an awesome day. See you next time.